Live service games! They are the bane of our existence as gamers. And today we're talking about Sony in particular. Sony, when you think of the best Sony games, you think about The Last of Us, God of War, maybe even some classics, maybe like a Jak and Daxter. A Dark Horse answer could get in there, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man 2018. You think about that stuff. What do all of those games have in common? They are single-player story, more or less PlayStation exclusives. All of them telling absolutely amazing stories that are innovative, stories that have good character work, just good story work, good themes, and just single player experiences that are packaged with some pretty good gameplay. Naturally, you'd think Sony would want to just go along with this formula for as long as possible. Sure, switching stuff up here and there so people don't get bored. Sony said, it ain't broke, let's fix the hell out of it. Let's make some live service games? What if we did that? Obviously, this is because live service games are very big in the financial department. Games like Warzone and Fortnite making a smackload of money. Frickin' Nathan Drake would cry his eyes out if he made a quarter of this money on frickin' Henry Avery's biggest treasure times 1,000. And of course, games are largely made to make a profit, to make money for Sony and all of their companies. So I understand why it's appealing to be like, let's just try it. Let's put our toes in the water. That's an issue. Live service games, I personally am kind of torn on. I think they're really whatever. From a story perspective, I don't think they're that great at all. We've seen that with Justice League, Kill the Suicide Squad. I just made a video about that and how the live service aspect of that game absolutely killed it dead in the water, because when you have a base story and it's like, oh, well, we're gonna finish the story in seasons later on, it's not good for the quality of the story because it's not telling a cohesive story in the main $70 game that you're paying for. And now we're hearing that they had ideas for like a God of War live service games and everything like that. Every PlayStation game, if you can think about it, they were in contention to get a live service game. I'm talking about Knack and Little Big Planet, all these guys, Sly Cooper, freaking Fat Princess, she's getting up in here, she's getting a live service game. Which you think about it and you're like, that's incredibly stupid. Let's take God of War, for example, the one that is the most recent as far as these big franchises. God of War Ragnarok only coming out a few years ago. God of War works as a singular story because it has a vision, right? In the case of a Cory Barlog, someone like that, Matt Sofranos, I forget his name, Eric Williams, that's the other director of the game. They have this vision, they have this story, and everyone works together to make this vision come true, to make this character of Kratos and Atreus and Odin and all these guys, Freya, as interesting as possible in the aspect of this one story. A live service aspect of that takes away, first of all, it takes away the whole goal of the game being to create a story, right? Because then it becomes kind of like clickbaity. How can we grab people by the hook? How can we grab them and just keep them here, keep them spending money over and over again, which first of all is just so slimy of a practice. I hate that. I hate where it's like, let's take advantage of kids, their attention spans, and kids, they're being dumb and they don't understand the concept of money. Let's get their money like that. I hate that. That's so bummy as a business practice. I would much rather have it be like, okay, we have our next God of War game. It's $70, which is a lot for some people, but trust me, we really put a lot of effort into this. Maybe you hear about it and you're like, hell yes, dude, that's good. I enjoyed that. Yeah, I don't mind supporting that vision in the future. Me personally, take a Rockstar, take a Sony Santa Monica. I've trusted them now that their games are going to be good because the last few have all slapped. I'm like, yes, dude, I'm going to buy the next game because they have a track record of putting out a good product. Live service games, the quality of the product is only important to get people to stay there and spend money, which I already said is a bad practice, but also it's not good when you mix that into a story game. It starts to mix up things, and that need to keep people on the hook, that's not complementary to telling a good story. An ex-Sony boss said that people have to, suck it up and pay and play the live service games so that people can afford to make these big AAA games, The Last of Us and the God of War and things like that. Don't get me wrong, AAA games have a really good ceiling. They have a really high potential to be good. I'm talking about, a God of War, a game like that, a God of War Ragnarok, these big budget games that feel really good, but also it's the same thing as movies. where it's like, just don't make these higher budget games. And if you want to make a big AAA game, make smaller, really high quality games and have the profits from that push towards, you know, the next big Naughty Dog game, the next big Elder Scrolls game, if it ever comes out. Putting people in that position of like, well, if you want the next God of War game, you better freaking play Concord or something like that. Get out of here with that, dude. That's lame. Get out of here. Don't try to make people feel bad. Don't make people feel like they owe them this. Like, oh, okay, well, I don't like God of War, but I don't like Concord, but I gotta play it so I can get Horizon Zero Dawn 3. I gotta play it so I can get the next Naughty Dog game. That's bummy, dude. Don't like that at all. Stop that, dude. Stop that. It's not gamers' responsibilities to fund your game. It's your responsibility to make good games, and the profits for that fund the next games, the next big thing. That's so lame, dude. Get out of here. The most successful Sony games have, you know, really good stories. They've had really good results because they sit with people, because they make an impact. And then that's what people are going to support years down the line. People are still probably buying these really big games because they're so good, because it's like, you haven't played that game? You haven't played Red Dead 2 yet? You gotta play Red Dead 2. If anything, that's how you make something that's genuinely good. Instead of someone, yo, you haven't played freaking Warzone yet? You gotta jump on Warzone. I'm sure people do that, but don't like it. All right, well, that's pretty much my rant on live service games for the day. I don't like it. Sony, stick to what you're good at. Stick to what we all like as the fans, as the gamers. Live service is not a trend I'm particularly fond of. Don't chase trends. That's kind of like, you know, art creative 101. Don't chase the trends. Chase something that's timeless. Thanks for watching though. New videos come out pretty much every single day. Hit subscribe and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.